Come.
Come. Cheers, Asai Sensei.
Oh, we should be so much better at that.
Yeah, all the practice that we've done together.
Years of training, we couldn't even do a proper campaign.
Yeah. Well, I've changed course. I'm on a small smidgen of glass of wine because that's all I have in the house.
Lovely orange juice.
I have a non-alcoholic beer.
All right, then, no need to show off. Anyway, how do you feel after training with Rick Jackson Sensei?
Well, it was the easiest in some ways training session I've ever had with him because I didn't sweat at all.
No.
But my knee was so to explain what we've just done a Zazen meditation session online with Rick Jackson Sensei, haven't we? And it was
it's excellent.
it was great.
I mean, it's one of those, we talked about Zen a bit last week in a slightly dismissive way, but
Yeah.
that was the real deal. And almost like, I don't really want to say too much about it, really. I think,
Yeah.
you're there, don't you?
Yeah. No, he is terrific, and like one of the things that I thought because I guess he had in mind that he would do 2 meditation practices, like within I think it was only supposed to be 30 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
And he was going to do 2 10-minute kind of meditation practices. So I guess he was going to talk for 5 minutes, do 10 minutes, talk a little bit more, then do another 10 minutes. Well, he kind of talked, didn't he, constantly for like a good 30 minutes.
It's good talk.
It
was good talk. I made quite a lot of notes.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like you just said, it just came out of him. It's amazing. It's pure. It's genius. Pure.
I've come away feeling very inspired, and I've definitely found something. And let something go. I thought was quite good. For me personally, let something go.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I trained with him, it was fantastic. At the end, I was hobbling around a bit, and he just said, "Oh, you're going to get worse." And it was like, no one's ever said that to me before. And it was like, yeah, man, you'll end up like me. I thought, it's really, really refreshing.
Yeah. Okay, well, we cannot talk about such things. What's the quote that you quoted last weekend?
This is Wittgenstein, Roshi Wittgenstein, of thing that with that which we cannot speak about, we must pass over in silence.
Exactly. Well, let's do that, and let's talk about things that we can speak about, shall we?
Yeah, it's something we have a rough idea about.
Shall I start this week?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, hang on. I have to let my cat out. Well, she's not my cat.
The cat.
I think for the first time ever, I've admitted that she's my cat. She's not my cat.
Whoa.
Be gone with you, you petty cat. Okay, she's gone.
Okay.
Okay, so, number 1. Asai Sensei, what's your 5-year plan?
Wow. Well, I see you know the background. This is the Eddie Izzard question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you know this yet? So years ago,
what's it now?
Let's talk about now. Well, my 5-year plan number 1 is to keep training and never use injury as an excuse, and is to find something new. I'm looking for something new in my training and in my practice. So and at the moment, it's weight training, doing a lot of weight training at the moment to support my body. Been running again. I ran today for an hour. I ran yesterday for an hour and a half. I've been long, slow runs, pretty much nearly every day, resting with it every now and again. So just have a change in my practice. But I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know what I mean. I'm not going to stop training, but I'm looking for something new. I'm looking. I'm looking for a new way to train and a new way maybe to live my life. So it's a good question. I'm not giving you a very good answer because it's such a good question, and it's something I need to address, and I haven't really begun to address it yet. Possibly because of this situation. I'm very much in that sort of just getting by at the moment, probably like all of us, because it's very hard to plan.
Yeah.
I'm slightly waffling. So it's a good question, and so, I don't know. It's got words.
Yeah. Do you see yourself kind of like? Of course, nobody can be like Rick Jackson, but
no.
I mean, is that? because like you're very knowledgeable, and I would say in many ways you're very wise, but also in many ways you've led your life at 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
Which is the antithesis of what kind of Rick is, really.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, not that I'd say that would you be trying to emulate someone else? Because I think, like Rick was saying this evening, like, we shouldn't, we are the true masters of ourselves, and so we shouldn't be looking for our sensei. But is that what you see as a change in the future, or do you see it in a different way?
I know that if you could, you got that, you hit the nail on the head, really. I mean, again, it's like Steve Uber's an ideal, and I'll never be like him. Rick is an ideal, and I won't be like him. I'd like to reach a point where I felt I have something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Again, this is very hard to talk about, really. I'd like to have something that I felt I was comfortable with in my own skin, and let lots of stuff go. So I've been in a way like it's a bit like I love kicking, and it's like I find it hard. I'm still attached to doing high kicks and stuff, and lament not being. I'm going to train with you, slow kicks. I wasn't as good as I used to be. So I suppose I'm looking with good grace to let things go, and maybe like to be some sort of idealized sort of Tai Chi master guy. Those like a Tai Chi master guy who could still move well and do stuff without actually being a Tai Chi master guy. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very much a work in progress.
Yeah, we'll skip over that then, shall we? Because you're like, maybe. I know.
No, I don't know. It's a very good question. It's a very good question, and I shall try and I'll let you know in 5 years.
Okay.
No, but yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say is my plan is not to keep on doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But to do something else. Okay? I'll put my glasses on for this.
Okay. Ooh.
Right, this is where, I don't know, I've been thinking about this for a while. Okay? So this is a two-part question. So ever since I've known you, you've always started your classes with Chokazuki Maegari. So that's fine. I'll ask you about that. So, A, why? And then, if we were to completely restart how you teach people Shotokan karate, would you stick with Ido Kion, 5 blocks, 5 kicks, Oyazuki, Gaiakazuki, Gohon Kumite? Would you or would you completely find a new way to teach? So in Okinawan karate, it'd be Jumbo Wundo, warm-up exercises, hold your Wundo, weight training, Makiwara, Sanshin Kata, or Teki, Nahanshin Kata. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Well, there's two very separate questions.
Well, all right then. You can call that question 1 and 2 if you want.
Okay. Question 1. Chokazuki and Maegari. I only do that when I'm at seminars. Yeah,
yes. But I think there's a reason for it, isn't it?
Yeah, I never do it when I'm in my own dojo. And to the point where like sometimes people visit. Like this kind of goes below my radar, really. But it's only kind of Ross and Tommy and others have mentioned it. People ask and stuff, and like they'll come to the dojo, and I'll start the class, and they're already there, kind of okay, I'm going to do my Chokazuki, and I do something different, and they're like, oh, well, that's not what happens normally, and they'll say, oh yeah, he never does that at the dojo, and I think what it is there's a very specific way I do it. And even like Tommy and Ross now have tried to. So, well, you do it this way. Oh, no, it's not. That's not the way I do it. Well, you do it this way. No, that's not the way I do it either. Like, there's a very specific way I'll do it. And what it is, I think, in many ways, is my OCD. It's kind of that moment of, okay, this is how I start, and if I start this way, it's not like OCD in the kind of proper sense. It's magical thinking, basically. Whereas if I start in this way, then the seminar will go well. And so that goes back to kind of 18 years ago when I started teaching internationally, professionally, where I'd start and basically it was just settling myself. And even to this day, like I'll go to a seminar, whether it be kind of Kay and Humphrey Doody down in Abbeyfield in County Kerry, County Limerick, and I've been teaching them twice a year for the last 18 years. Twice a year, I go down to Kerry and I teach them for 18 years. And like still, I'll do the same thing, whether it's that kind of very familiar seminar or kind of going to, like next month I go to teach in France for the first time, whether it be that, like I still get that kind of like on edge feeling. And the Chokazuki and the Maigiri is a way of just settling myself. So that's why
it's a very good way to perform. I mean, in terms of comedy, I always took me a while. I used to go on and just start the set or go on. And then I had this, my sort of performance was almost like my yoi was saying, hello. That was sort of my thing, hello. And I'd always try and make a joke about where I was.
Yeah.
A lot of comics do it, like Comedy 101. But it's like your introduction. But I mean, do you ever use it as a benchmark because you can tell people's level straight away?
Yeah, there's that as well. But like there's a very specific way to do it. So like I generally don't look at what the I'll look at the Maigeris.
Yeah.
Like Chokazuki, I'm always facing away, so I don't see what they're doing.
Right. Yeah,
Maigeris,
around, don't you? Yeah.
And then I'll look at them doing slowly Maigiri, and then we'll do spin power Maigiri. So I'll have a brief look at how they're doing Maigiri when they're doing it slowly. But that's it, really. But yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you can tell, right? You can tell how people do Maigiri. But generally speaking, it doesn't really inform how I'm going to start the class. The first drill that I'll do within a seminar is what I'm judging them by, and sometimes I'll have the drill and that'll be my starting point.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'll build from that. There's been occasions where I've started it and I've really kind of over kind of what's the word? Kind of anticipated.
Yes, I've been on them classes.
Yeah, and I'll start at that level, then I'll go, okay, we'll kind of break that down and go right the way back, work on things, and by the end of the seminar, we're back to where we started. Most of the times, that starting point is the starting point. But the first drill that I do is generally speaking what I'm judging people by.
Yeah. So you think it's kind of like more for you than for them, the Chokazuki?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, to the point where if I choose someone to do warm up, and then they kind of like some people they'll do karate exercises and they'll do Chokazuki and Maigiri, I get really pissed off. Like, I didn't ask you to do karate. And in my mind, I'm going, I didn't ask you to do karate. I asked you to warm them up.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. They're almost teaching, aren't they?
Yeah. And I never say anything. I just kind of mutter under my breath like I do often, Yeah. And the second question, would I change things? Well, what I would say is that I do my own dojo. I don't teach. Yes, if I could reinvent Shotokan, I wouldn't teach it in the 3Ks, Kihon Kumite Kata, because I think they're just artificial constructs. I would teach them. I would teach karate thematically, and that's what I do in my dojo. We very rarely do grading syllabus stuff.
You're still starting off left leg and number right. Do a lot of that. Or?
Well, like
that's
now,
just a way to start.
Yeah, I never. It's horrible to say, but like if you asked most of my, well, not black belts, but certainly high-ranking Q grades to say Moate Ginambarai, I'm sure most of them would make a mistake. That's a very horrible thing to say, isn't it?
Wow.
But
I mean, I'm going to come over. I'll get them to do it.
Yeah, it's horrible, and sometimes I realize, what are you doing? Come on, and make them do it and everything. But because we never just march up and down the dojo,
right? Yeah, I know.
That bog standard Moate Ginambarai. Now, for sure, they'll be able to step forward Ginambarai. But even if we were practicing, like I would never start a class by saying, "Okay, yoi, left leg forward Ginambarai." Right. I just never do it. Even if, like, I'll often start with, like, doing Gakuzuki maybe, and I'll just say, okay, your left leg forward, kind of kamai, for Gakuzuki kamai. You're like, whereas a normal dojo, they'd be, okay, your left leg forward, get up right, yeah, okay, get ready, and yeah, I would never do that. I just okay, zinc touch, and get ready to do Gakuzuki. So, I don't even do that.
Huh? Did Kato Sensei do it?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
In Japan, you would have done it every
Yeah.
class. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't pick that up from anybody else apart from like, I'm not going to kind of march these guys up and down the dojo. So like right from the beginning, I was teaching thematically. I would say, okay, right, this is what I want to teach. This is my idea. Okay, well, we're going to start. Okay, we're going to start in this stance, and blah blah blah. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Blah blah blah. And I would run, I would teach that theme through the idea of kind of like maybe on the spot basics, maybe up and down basics, but highly unlikely. Maybe elements of kata, maybe elements of kumite. But I'd just be teaching. I'd have one idea in my mind, and for the whole hour of the class, that's what I'd be teaching, and still do.
No, I know you do.
Yeah. So,
I mean, a lot of people find that very disorientating, especially high grades, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is what I mean. When I trained, I liked it because I thought this is really refreshing. But there's a certain pleasure, a sort of a tedious pleasure in the predictability of karate sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's like a comfort blanket, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, I once, I was in Leeds. I was teaching in Leeds, and someone said I was teaching Morshigeri. I said, I kick Morshigeri, and they said, Sensei, do you want me to do a like a Kihon Morshigeri or like a Kumite freestyle Morshigeri? And I was like, I don't even understand that question, let alone give you an answer for it. I was like, is that what people think? And obviously it is. And like, so the 3 Ks of the 3 pillars of Shotokan Karate, Kihon, Kumite, Kata, I think it is a real, it's a great way to teach the masses, but it has such limitations that I never ever bought into it.
But that's how it happened, you know, because the Kihon didn't really exist in Okinawa. There's a great picture at Shuri Castle. I think we've seen it sometime. And it's someone, I think it's Itatsu Sensei standing on a box, or someone in a box, standing on a box in Gedambarai. Yeah. The whole of Shuri Castle, a load of people doing Gedambarai.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of that new way of teaching.
Yeah, you didn't see the second photograph where he stepped forward on his Zuki and fell off the box.
And then the castle burnt down.
Yeah.
I remember a long time, the first time I trained with Kanazawa Sensei, in the 80s, turned up somewhere for his course, and there was so many people there. He was stood on a box.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like, whoa, wow. Yeah, that's my first standing on a box experience.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah. I mean, would you keep? Are you happy with the kata order for the Heian katas? Would you? I mean, I like Jono katas are brilliant kata. Would you ever consider bringing that in officially?
Well, no. I mean, we'll often talk about this in morning training about and also like the alternative end to Chinte and stuff like that, and would we change it and blah blah blah. And I was like my biggest kind of issue with doing anything like that structural change within the kind of the foundation of karate is that we don't live in isolation. We are communicating and cooperating with the wider karate world. And so if we started tinkering around the edges, or even just kind of fundamentally changing things by adding kata or taking away kata, or calling Gochi or Sho Dai and show, like the SKIF there. I mean, that's such a small change, but like it kind of like sets them apart, doesn't it?
It's a branding issue.
Yeah.
It's branding.
Yeah. But I think that the problem is that this is our international language within the community. We know we can go into any dojo in the world and say, Basai Dai, yeah, I know Basai Dai.
Yeah.
And do some sort of kind of representation of that the other people will recognize.
Yeah. And also, we never say you must do it this way.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm quite proud of that. I always say, do it the way you were taught.
Yeah.
I hate that sort of dogma. The old dogma must be, exactly this way. Move your left leg. You can't use your right leg, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What about yellow geese, though? Can we wear like yellow geese from Enter the Dragon?
Only when you wet yourself.
Oh. That wine's kicking in.
I want a non-alcoholic beer now. God. That's what quarantine's
called.
That
was a good answer. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. My turn.
Yeah. I hope I can answer this one. Don't ask me what my 10-year plan is.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've been writing. I've been writing. This is not really a question, more of a discussion point. But I've been writing an article. Okay, so the title of the article is COVID. Is it the death nail of the monolithic karate association?
Good, yes, good question.
I had the title, and then I thought, oh God, I've got to write an article around that. I thought, well, that's a good title.
Yes.
Surely that's enough.
A very good title.
And so my premise is that I think, as what's his face, Warren Buffett said, when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked.
Yep.
And my premise is that there have been a lot of reactions to the coronavirus and the lockdown, and one of them, I think, is the growth of, obviously, karate at home is the most obvious example, where they've gone on the 19th of March, I think, or 17th of March, wherever it was. Martin decided to kind of Facebook Live his class, and then with the help of Nadia, created Karate at Home, and now they are 15,000 strong in over 80 countries.
Yeah.
And so that's been a direct result of the coronavirus, obviously lockdown, and so that's one response. Another response, I think, is how these monolithic karate organizations, what I mean by that is like those cumbersome kind of organizations have been very, very slow to respond. And they've either responded by doing nothing, saying, texting people and saying, see you in 3 months, or the equivalent, or they followed that old paradigm of, well, I'll continue to teach a seminar and this is my fee and I'll charge this much, rather than servicing a community that they're the head of for free, maybe, or in a price structure that is representative of them doing a seminar that is not quite up to kind of like the normal kind of experience. And so, like, I've seen, like, they've reacted badly. Some people have reacted badly to it, and I think ultimately they might pay the price for that in the long run, because they've had this double whammy of these people who are members of well-established kind of monolithic karate organizations. They've got this bad taste in their mouth about how the seniors have reacted to the situation, and at the same time they've managed to see how much great quality karate there is out there through other mediums, and they've got that for free. So that's the kind of the premise of the article. But my question, is that, do you think this is a legacy of what's happened in the past? And what I mean by that is that these instructors who have reacted a certain way, they're modern, they're like my age, your age, whatever they are, but they're not like dinosaurs that started karate in the 1940s and 50s. They're kind of modern kind of karate instructors. But do you think it's because they're just replicating how they were treated previously? And so it's almost like those who were abused then become the abusers in that kind of cyclical way of behavior that sometimes can happen within relationships. Is karate, by definition, in some places dysfunctional?
Well, I think the expansion of karate started really with Nakayama and Takashoka University. And Takashoka University was the Imperial Japanese Army Colony University. He went to Manchukuo. So it's a bit like, imagine it was the Milton Keynes British Empire University. And people went there and they ruled the British Empire. Takashoka University was like a lesser university. So Kyo and Waseda were the big academic ones. And Takashoka was basically trained people to go and work in the Japanese Imperial Empire with all the legacy and fascism that happened then. So after the war, Nakayama used that model, and they basically sent people out, kids, Anoida Sensei, Kanazawa Sensei, Kaze Sensei was the oldest, he was about 28. The rest of them were kids. Kato Sensei was young. And that model was a very old-fashioned imperial model, empire building model, which worked really well. And essentially, it hasn't changed. So again, I've got to be. Okay, I'm just going to say. So, say for example, they did that. The JK became this monolithic organisation. The KGB became a monolithic organisation. People who left the KGB, say for example, Mick Dewey left and became Seacoop, and that was the same. They used the same model, same sort of thing. So it's history repeating itself. And like, we know that someone today, I noticed today, someone we know is doing a class for $20, a Zoom class, and so it's basically, this is like you set your standard, you kind of found out. So there's the W.C. Fields model, never give a sucker an even break. It's basically, I'm the sensei, this is the group, whatever we do, stick with it. And a disappointingly huge number of people still like that. I mean, I'm not going to name any more organizations, but lots of organizations have Sensei so-and-so's doing it. You give them $20 and they teach a class. They've never do a free class. So, and people are delighted to be on it. It's like, it's a gravy train class. And then there's got this wonderful democratization. So people like Morad Sensei's turned up, we never knew, who's patently fantastic, who's done courses for us and courses for karate at home for free, and I think has arrived on the karate world. Yeah. And then they've got people, a lot of ISKF people over there, JD Swanson's friends, Debian people have met them, all doing free classes, all relatively low grades, but all really good. So yeah, so it's definitely, and there's one more thing I'll say, there's one other person who basically asked for money. Someone, don't forget to pay don't forget to renew your license, and then has done nothing. So it's really interesting. Yeah, it's a great question. It's like, how far can you push people? So it's Hooke's law. Everything has an elastic limit. So can you squeeze every last drop out of your members and keep on that goodwill? And you'll lose a few, but as long as it's short term. Yeah. Yes, it's a good question. And I think the other thing is, going from, sometimes if it's free, some people dismiss it because it's free. Some people like paying lots of money. Yeah. There's definitely been a massive change, and I think across the world there's a massive change. Things have changed, and I think in its own small way the karate world has changed. And like today's Rick Jackson Sensei thing, lots of people from all over the place I don't know, I gave them the code and they came to train with Rick today. Yeah. So there's definitely, and then other people have basically not risen to the challenge. Like they've just stayed in the hole, or they've got other people to do it and they haven't. Yeah. So that will have repercussions in the long run. But I still think it's a bit like church. Say the Catholic Church is like the equivalent of the JKA in a way. There'll always be people who are just, no matter what, will be die hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my premise was that, and is that it's not going to be the death nail of the whole organization, because there will always be a JKA, of course. Yeah. But they will. Are they? Like what I was kind of saying was that you could say that they've been in a slow decline for the last 40 years since Nakayama Sensei died, 43 years. And maybe this has put that decline on steroids.
I think you're right. Yeah, it speeded up the decline because all institutions, everything changes. All empires crumble, and there'll definitely be a new emergence here. There's a massive democratization of karate and also a meritocracy, which we've always wanted. Because quite a few people have done Zoom classes who aren't very good. Yeah. And and I think Zoom class is the ultimate meritocracy, because they're hard to do, and if you're any good, people will come, and if you're not any good, there's only so much money they'll pay, and there's only so many times they'll come.
It's interesting, isn't it? That like with Zoom, like so much of karate is taught through the kind of, like, I have to word this carefully, but the subtle hint of violence. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're a karate instructor in the dojo saying, do that again. Do it again faster. Do it again harder. And there's a subtext there that I'm a tough guy and you will do what I say. Yeah. which is completely and utterly taken away from you when you're teaching
Yes.
through Zoom.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden, Zoom is about pure teaching. And how
Yeah.
can you convey the knowledge in an enthusiastic and clear way?
Yeah.
Because every other real kind of tool has been taken away from you. And we're all guilty of that. I wouldn't say guilty. I mean, like, I don't think it's to kind of have that kind of sense of urgency, that sense of violence. But like, that's really not the word that I really want to use.
Mick Jackson says, he said today, he goes, when he ties his belt,
yeah,
he's like a demon, I think he said, didn't it?
Yeah.
And he'll
Yeah,
push
yeah.
you and push you. And
Yeah.
I think, when you stand up and you do that warm-up thing,
Yeah.
when we go and teach, you've got to be the guy.
Yeah.
You've got to be the best guy in the group. Or like I say to you, you've got to be the guy who could do something that they can't do.
Yeah, for sure. And there's plenty of times when I've got the biggest guy out. Most of the time, give him a pad to hold and hit him really hard. Not like the other instructors who just hit some guy randomly when he's not expecting it.
No, with the pad,
yeah, I'm going to hit you. You've got a pad. I'm going to hit you really hard. Oh, you're good for it. Can you do this? Or Sensei, whack! Oh my God, that's the hardest I've ever been hit. So like, there's plenty of times that I've done that where I've used that kind of sense of reality, of fighting reality to drive my point home, which is completely taken away from you in Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Zoom's been very good, because you become a coach and motivational coach.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I think we said the other week, I think Zoom will continue.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're going to continue it. But it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to. You guys are over in August, and then I'm teaching in Sweden and France. Hopefully,
France will be good, yeah.
In August, it'll be interesting. Like, not so much when you guys are over, but when I go to Sweden and then France, to be elsewhere, to be teaching in front of a crowd, to see what my teaching style is like, because it's we've had these 4 months of teaching through Zoom, and like, lots of things have changed. So I'm looking forward to it, actually. No,
I mean, I'm desperate to be back in the dojo again, and because the limitations of Zoom, like, nuances have gone really, and it's much, and also how many steps you can take.
Yeah.
But getting back to your question, I mean, sometimes the worst of times bring out the best of things in organisations.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen people just disappearing, people trying to make money, and then people doing stuff for free, and then people who aren't very good teaching. So it's all happened.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And there will be, the world has changed and karate has changed. And changes are coming, I think. Or change is here.
Absolutely.
Got the next question?
Okay, next question.
Okay, I remember you said to me, you said, I use this quote all the time. Competition karate is only important if you never do it. And I think that that's kind of my credo when people talk about competition karate. But just out of interest, can you tell us, the world, about your competition karate experiences, career, and how you feel about competition karate now? And do you have any sort of regrets or unfinished business with competition? Do you ever wish you'd done something?
No. I have no regrets. I won't answer your question. No, I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever. Like, briefly, I think you should always, like, I devalue my karate competition career. I think there's certain people, like, I know who, like Aiden Trimble Sensei, for example, at no point could anybody devalue what he did.
Oh, in Japan. He won in Japan.
Like, amazing. Yeah. There's a few people out there who you can go, you can't take anything away from that. But I think, generally speaking, as a competitor, it is a very vacuous experience winning.
Yes.
And I was actually watching a documentary today about George W.H. Bush Sr. It was very interesting, but like, he said that he quoted Wellington who said, like, I'm going to make a mess of this comment, but this quote, but he said that something like, "There is nothing as dark as the moment of victory, except for the moment of loss." And what he was equating it to was when in 1991 he just won beat Saddam Hussein in the First Gulf War, and his popularity was at 85% nationwide in America, and he became quite depressed because he was going to fight the general election, the presidential vote, the year afterwards against Clinton, and he lost all momentum because he'd been on such a high and he'd won the war kind of like in the way that he did, blah blah blah, that there was nothing, there was nowhere to go from that point. And like I'm not trying to equate to competition with war, of course, but like my point is that victory in any sense is quite a hollow experience, and I've often, so I won the national championships and the Europeans. I won national kind of European individual committee. Sorry, not individual committee. That's the only one I didn't win. I won individual kata, team committee, and I came third in individual committee. And in the World Championships, I won individual kata and team kata. But I always say to myself, well, yeah, but that was a singular organizational championships. It wasn't like the WUCO at the time or the WKF. And so it was only the JKA, and it wasn't even the JK, it was Asai Sensei's JKA. So like I kind of bring it down to, well, it wasn't that big, it was this big, and it wasn't this big, it was that big. And I kind of like I reinforce that hollowness and that emptiness of the competition because I don't want to put any kind of credibility into it.
But I mean, what I'm trying to get is the importance of competition was when you were training for those competitions, you were probably hard.
So that's my point. So I put a huge amount of emphasis, and I have pride, you can have pride. I have a lot of pride in the amount of training that we did for it, and how hard we trained at that time. Like we were training incredibly hard, coming up to the World Championships in '96. Like, that was my last year at university, and like every day we were training so hard. And so, when I won it, I wasn't particularly surprised. Like I put so much work into it, but the winning of it was very vacuous and empty.
Yeah. Well, people get addicted to it.
The celebration was great.
And I know quite a few people who've won, who've got hundreds of gold medals, and they enter like very small competitions. When we had the first WTKO championship, a Goju-Ryu guy got in touch and said, he sent his entry in, and he was fifth Dan Goju-Ryu. And I said, this is a veterans kumite. It's our first competition. It's WTK only, first one. You can't enter because you're far too good and you'd win. I didn't lie to him. I said, we've got 6 other entries, they're all green belts and yellow belts, they're all over 50. And he sent me a really angry email going, you're denying me a chance for a medal. And I think he was just addicted to medals.
Yeah.
But competition strategy is not important, but I think everyone should do it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, it goes back to kind of that violence within the dojo. Like, you can't really get good by firstly thinking about karate, or secondly, someone going, now, come on, let's try hard. You get really good by someone trying to punch you in the face.
Yeah. Everyone in my dojo, I say you can't take your black belt till you've entered one competition, which is normally the HDKI national. And you just got to enter it. I don't care whether you win, lose. You've just got to step onto the mat, kata and kumite, and they all have. Some of them win it, but they all have to make that step only once. And I think that's an important thing. Yeah. But quite a few people poo-poo sport karate. Those guys are, if I did kumite with you, I'd have to kill you. And it's a bit like, just do some sparring.
Yeah.
And often, most of the best karate people we've ever met have been very successful in kumite, in competitions. Not all, but many of them. And that's because they're serious karate.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a lot of people who became championships and then quit the next day and they've never done karate again.
Yeah. Exactly. There's an awful lot of. Yeah.
But I do think that the training involved in order to kind of become a champion is really important, and the fortitude and the will to step onto the mat and perform kumite or kata is really important and vital for really to be a black belt like you do.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Okay, next question.
Is it? Am I asking you? I've just asked you, haven't I?
You have just asked me, yeah.
You asked me. Is that yeah? Go on. I've got more for
it's
you.
My turn.
Go on.
I'll ask one more. Yeah. Okay. So we trained with we not trained. We meditated with Rick Sensei, and I'm just wondering, like, there's a lot of kind of talk, and certainly kind of there's a great connection with Japanese martial arts, karate, and that esoteric realm. And what are your thoughts on the esoteric elements of training, and have you met anybody that you would say embodied like any sort of esoteric trait?
Well,
and I mean by esoteric, I mean just beyond the usual, you know.
Yeah, I mean this whole Orientalism and esoteric stuff is like a home for scoundrels in many ways. That's the trouble, you know. There's a guy called T. Lobsang Rampa, and he wrote a load of books about about going to Tibet. Millions of books, all in the 60s. I bought them in the early days. And he'd never been, he lived in Brighton. But he set him up, he says, as a guru and a holy man. And there's a guy called Terry Jukes. And Terry Jukes did karate in London. And then he changed his name to Nagaboshi Roshi. And there's a great thing called Open Door. It's not on YouTube sometime. I'll put it up sometime. And he basically found Mushindokai. So basically, there's a whole school of scoundrels. You can hide behind mysticism because you can get away with anything if you're mystical. But I mean, you know, Rick Jackson is the guy. You know, he's real. The other guy is a guy called John Evans. John Evans, he's on YouTube as well. Maybe I'll put the link up for him. He went to Japan in the early 80s and became a Yamabushi. And he's in London now. I've got his book. He's got a very, very good book. And he's basically trained in the mountains, did all the Shugyo stuff, and did live sword. I mean, I'd like to meet him. I've spoken to him on Facebook, but I've read his book. Anyone else? Now, I'd say Rick Jackson is there for us. And one of my plan is, as soon as this finishes, I'm going to train with Rick every Friday. Right?
Yeah.
It's definitely my plan. And other than that, no. I mean, Bruce Francis. Sorry, I met Bruce Francis once. Bruce Francis did karate, did Aikido in Japan, went to Tendai University in Japan, and then he went to China and then Bagua, Xingyi, and Tai Chi. And I met a demonstration with him, and he was great. And I was 28, something, 20, and he called 5 people up to this demonstration, and he just stood there and he goes, right, hit me. And I was like 28. I thought, all right, mate, I'm going to hit you. And I just went to, I mean, I don't know what the other people did. And I sort of went this big punch to the head, and I got this palm heel strike in my ear, and I fell over. I don't know what he did. He obviously palm heeled and swept me. And I got up, my ears going, beep, and everyone else is on the floor. So that was the most impressive martial arts demonstration I've ever seen. Because he didn't hurt me, but he totally vanquished me. And I don't know what he did. Yeah, so I'd say Bruce Francis, John Evans, and Rick Jackson, who's got our thing. But people love that myth of, people love the myth of the guy who lives in the cave who's really good. And I think that is a myth, really. That's in martial arts. I mean, there's a couple of Buddhist people I've met have been very impressive, but they definitely had something. But they've all trained. The thing about them all, they're all very well trained. Yeah. Like what Rick said today, I mean, it's a lot about self-training. I mean, the reason you're good at karate is really not because you trained in Japan and did the instructor's course. It's because you trained. So, Rick said today, don't do Zoom classes because you should be in your garden training, and a big part of me thought, yeah, well, like you, I've been training with you in the morning. You're still doing it. I've been running. I mean, this morning, I finished work today, went for a big run, it's about, it's kind of training.
Yeah, no secret to it.
How about you? Have you found anyone? What about you? Oh, but Paolo Sensei as well.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people looking for that kind of like the magic, that kind of mysticism where they can, like for example, I know a couple of SKIF guys. One of them once, in all seriousness, told me that he once saw Kanazawa Sensei step forward Oizuki and his front foot was levitating.
Yeah.
And another one very seriously told me about how he did the three boards, 3 centimeter wooden boards, and he punched it and only the middle one broke. That kind of thing, like, and they're looking for. There's a very fine line. Say again.
Yeah, people love that. There's a great book called Buddhism Without Beliefs by Confessions of a Buddhist Atheist by Stephen Batchelor, and he went to Tibet, learned Tibetan, was a personal student with his guru for like 13 years, and then one day the Dalai Lama comes to town and it's raining and he's with all these people and they get the shaman comes out and he goes right and then the shaman goes, it stopped raining, and everyone goes, yeah, it stopped raining, and Stephen Batchelor goes, it was still raining. And it's like, he goes, at that moment he kind of fell out of love with Tibetan Buddhism because people like, I'm going to swear, people like bullshit.
Yeah.
That is the trouble. And martial arts is Tai Chi, Qigong, all that stuff. It's a whole, all that fantastical literature of people. I know the Kung Fu films, they fly, because in Qigong you can fly. It's great showmanship. Houdini was a master of that. Magicians are the master of that. It's not mundane. And the true, Shugyo, real training is mundane. There are no secrets.
Yeah.
But that's hard.
But I think what happens though is that people can reach, like through hard training, they can reach such a fine level that the normal onlooker thinks it's magic.
Yes, that's true.
And then they want to go, they say, oh, teach me that magic. And then you'll get some bullshit artist, bullshido, who then goes, okay, I'm going to teach you the magic. Rather than the ultimate truth, which is, no, you just have to train daily for 40, 50 years. And then you'll reach such a level that you will be able to do things that seem magical to other people.
It's like Chi, I think Chi, a good way is great technique. Like you said, effortless karate, lazy karate. It's like if you've got great technique, like, Rick would say, the technique does itself. That's not like, that's not done by breathing exercise. That's by, Steve Ubel style, blooming doing. Or an Olympic gymnast makes it all look so easy because she spent all her life tumbling and jumping and all that kind of stuff. No, it's a good question though, because people like easy answers to hard questions. And if you can go, I've got all the power of the universe, and there's lots of people who do that. I mean, have you met anyone who's impressed you like that? When you were in India, did you meet anyone?
When I was in India?
Yeah, I went to India. That's a home of people.
Yeah, I just met a lot of really good people. Like karate-wise, not so good, but just a lot of very genuine people who had nothing but would give you everything. It's talking cliches, but genuinely at peace. They're all Buddhists. Amazing kind of mindful people, which is everything really, right?
Well, I think the other thing is it's always worth remembering this. Some people who are very, very good at karate are like slightly psychopaths, slightly very dull because all they do is karate. And I mean, there's quite a few people I know who've been very good at karate who I haven't liked.
Yeah.
They're not compassionate people,
Yeah.
and they're basically very violent people, far better at karate than me, and their whole life is based on fighting.
Yeah.
You know, define themselves by fighting, and I think that's the exact exact opposite of what we should be doing.
Yeah. Asai Sensei had something very special.
My next question.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, go on, ask that question then.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I said, tell me about your relationship with Asai Sensei and what you think about Asai Sensei. You had a unique, you had a little, not necessarily you knew him, you're not wearing Tanuchi Deshi, but you had some Asai Sensei experiences. Please tell us about them.
Well, yeah, it's strange because today on the ISKF Russia Facebook page,
Yeah.
Domenko Sensei has published a four episode, 4-part kind of, I guess, an article about Asai Sensei. Now, Domenko Sensei would have been back in the day one of the students, one of the European students of Asai Sensei, or Russian. So he was the head of the JKS Russia, and so knew him very well, and I know him, and he knows me, and blah blah blah. And he was talking at length about Asai Sensei, and also about the people who claim to be Uchideshi of Asai Sensei.
Right.
And so two very prominent ones. And so if you want to find out what he said, just go to the ISKF Russia Facebook page, and it's all there. And I broadly support what he said. Like, I think there's a few little things that are factually inaccurate, but just like maybe remembering it wrong. Nothing major. Most of it, the broad brushstrokes of it, as far as I'm concerned, is correct. But Asai Sensei was such an important figure, and so talented, and also in many ways very giving with his knowledge, that it's, since his death, it's kind of produced this kind of never-ending cycle of legends and people trying to trade on his name, and I think that's a real pity, because it kind of takes away from what he really was, and what he really was a very good karate guy who had extremely good points and extremely bad points. My go-to story of Asai Sensei is that, and I wrote it in the book, so it's not a big revelation, but I was on the insurance course, and it was halfway through my second year, and it was increasingly looking like I was going to finish and graduate, and they weren't going to get rid of me. So I got a phone call one day after instructors training, and it was Ishimine Sensei who worked with Asai Sensei at his office in Shimbashi, and he said, "Scott, what are you doing?" "Oh, nothing, Sensei. Just finished training." "Come to the office now." "Oh, Sensei." So I went all the way down to the office, which is like 45 minutes across Tokyo, and I got there, and Asai Sensei's there, and he's like, "Oh, Scott, come sit down, have a cup of tea." I was like, "Oh, like, this is the first time he's ever invited me." And I've many times he's been to the dojo, many times we've been to his office, but this is the first time just me, and specifically being invited. So I'm sitting there going, "Well, what's all this about?" Thinking this is very strange.
All in Japanese as well.
Yeah. And he's saying, you're training hard, or Sensei, and body's okay, or Sensei, and you're okay for money, or Sensei, and you're kind of traveling, everything's okay, healthy, or Sensei. "Who's your karate instructor?" I was like, "Sorry, Sensei? Who's your karate instructor? Is it Kagawa Sensei, or is it Kato Sensei?" And obviously at the time, Asai Sensei was the head of the JKS and also the IJKA, this shadow not shadow group, but kind of group within a group. It wasn't even that. It was like it was
odd.
Yeah, I mean, like that was very odd, and there was reasons behind it that is for another conversation. But either way, there was two groups. And JKS was the legitimate one with the Hombu Dojo, the one with the instructors course, the one that had a non-profit organization, the one that had full visible accounts and all that kind of stuff. There was the JKS, and then there was this private organization, the IJK. Kato Sensei, of course, was IJK, and the Hombu Dojo and all the instructors, including me, were JKS. And he said to me, who's the instructor? Who's your instructor? Kato Sensei, Okagawa Sensei. So I thought carefully, and I said, "Oh, Sensei, it's Kato Sensei." And he's like, "Good. Don't ever forget that."
Wow. I see. I think you're going to say Kagawa Sensei. That's interesting.
No, so he said, okay, good, okay, you can go. So I went out the building, and I got to the street, and I was like, "Where's Kagawa Sensei?" And I think it was a Monday, so it was his teaching day. So I rang the Hombu Dojo, and it like rang, and he's like, "Mush mush. Oh, Sensei, Scott, let's get on. Oh, genki ka." Like Kagawa Sensei, like, oh. And I said, "So, Sensei, you're in the dojo, yeah?" Yeah. I says, "Can I come and see you? I've just had a meeting with Asai Sensei." Oh, okay, really? Okay, come. So I went all the way back to the Hombu Dojo, and he was there. And he was like, "Oh, okay, sit, cup of tea." "Oh, Sensei, cup of tea." He says, "What's the story? What happened?" And I says, "Well, he's blah blah blah. He's asking me this." And then all of a sudden he said, "Who's your sensei, Kato Sensei or you?" And he said, "What did you say?" I said, "Sensei, I thought really carefully about it." And I said, "Kato Sensei." And he went, "Good." He says, "Who's your sensei, really?" I says, "You are, of course, Sensei." He said, "Good. Don't ever forget that. Okay, you can go."
Very Japanese answer.
Yeah. So, I mean, so my point is that Asai Sensei was an absolute genius. And karate was beyond amazing. And he would punch you, and it would just make you feel sick. And it'd punch you like with a hot, like you felt like a hot poker going through you. And what he could do with his body was incredible. Like his arm, he used to mimic his body with there's the what's it called, the Chinese whip, which is that, I think it's a Chinese whip, which is like a
8-section whip.
8-section whip, yeah. So and he'd kind of wrap it around, so he could use that really well. But he'd also mimic his karate to that. So he'd treat every joint, and every joint had massive mobility. And so even like this part of his wrist, he would kind of wrap it around your neck, and he'd kind of make you feel like he'd hit you there, the back of your head, and there with his forearm, with his upper arm, his forearm, and his kind of like haito feeling. And it'd go don don don, and it'd make you feel like faint, with the slightest of whipping feeling. And so it was incredible, really. And he had all these kata that he took from Chinese kung fu. His wife's father his wife was Chinese, Taiwanese, and he was based in Taiwan. And so his wife's father was the head of White Crane Kung Fu in Taiwan, and he learned everything from him. When he was at his prime in his late 20s, he was living in Taiwan, training with the head of Taiwanese White Crane Kung Fu, and just absorbed everything, and made Shotokanized it in some way. And
he
so
definitely Shotokanized it, but it was White Crane Kung Fu,
yeah, for sure, yeah. But because of that, had such a great depth of knowledge about all martial arts.
He was a martial artist, wasn't he?
Yeah, and could use it with devastating effect.
Would you say that the other JKA, like JKS instructors, were a bit bemused by him?
Yeah.
Like, we just do shows, I mean, I remember, the first time I saw Asai, he turned up at Crystal Palace just before the split, and did this really nice speech about trying to unify Shotokan and stuff. And then he did a demonstration with Ota Sensei. I was just amazed. He ducked under his kick and hit him in the groin with a high toe. He did all the stuff you just said. And it was wow, this is obviously, this would be a great guy to head the JKA. But he was very earnest, trying to bring everyone together. But I was going to ask you again, how did this man, you ended up being his model, his uke for a magazine shoot, weren't you? How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, it was strange, really. It was strange, really. It was just, Well, like the Karate Do magazine, which is like the karate magazine in Japan, Karate Do, they used to come quite regularly to the Hombu Dojo because, like, for one reason or another, like the latest Teikyo student would have just won the All Japan Championships, or they did a profile on Kagawa Sensei once, and Yamaguchi Senpai another time, and this time they just happened to turn up and do one with Asai Sensei. And
why did they pick you? Because you're a gaijin.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah,
Well, they just
said, the gaijin.
Say again.
It's a good honour, isn't it? And so, I mean, how did the photo shoot work?
So they just came, and I can't it was like during the week, sometimes midweek, during the day, and I think maybe Kagawa Sensei must have just said to me, "Scott, come to the dojo at this time to help Asai Sensei, bring your doki," type thing, or Sensei. So I turned up, not really knowing what was going on, and then they were set up for a photo shoot. And I've done a few before, maybe because I'd done. The only one that I didn't do a photo shoot for was Yamaguchi.
Right.
I'd done one with Matsuzaki, who was the All Japan Kumite champion. Done one with Inada when he won the World Championships. Done one with Kagawa. Done one with Asai. And I guess the only one that I knew went on and I didn't help out, was with Yamaguchi. So maybe it was just like the kudos of being seen with a foreigner, because you know what I mean, like the Japanese, like, oh, we have a foreigner as well, kind of thing. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I was on telly in Japan once at the dojo I trained in, the Wado dojo.
Yeah.
They called this Nihon University Kumite champion guy, and they did Kumite with me, and and it was 13 ippons or something, and he won 13-2. I think. But I remember they definitely picked me up, and it was very much like beat the foreigner thing. It was telly, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the first shoot.
What happened? Did you tell you what to do, or what?
No, well, so normally, that was the last one I'd done. I seem to remember. The ones that I'd done before, it was very staged. Okay, Matsuzaki is going to do Kizamizuki, and I'm going to try to block it, and he's going to do something. But it was very staged, that type of thing, and they'd take photographs. So, okay, and it was very much like, okay, what's your winning technique in competition? Or my winning technique is blah blah this, and blah. Okay, can you just demonstrate that kind of thing, And when it came to Asai Sensei, they were like, okay, so what do you want to do? Asai Sensei is typical. Well, I don't know. Okay, Scott, let's just move about. And so we started doing freestyle. I mean, he was like 67, 68 at the time. I was like 27, 28. And we just kind of went for it for I don't know, good 30 minutes, with the photographer occasionally saying, "Oh, stop! Can you just do that? That was brilliant. Can you do that again?" And a few things a few of them were kind of a little bit staged, but most of them were just kind of going for it. And
what's your go? I mean, I've been in situations like that, but nowhere near like this level. But I mean, your job is to make him look good, but to do that, you've got to attack seriously, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, he was very. I didn't need to make him look good. He was good, and that was the point.
Yeah. But I mean, no, you have to have good intention, don't
you? Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, there is a level of holding back, but at the same time, there's also a level of holding back. There's a level of holding back because he's 40 years older than you. But also, there's a level of holding back that if you really went for it, then he could just do you.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of trepidation and fear there as well. But it was amazing. I remember after half an hour, he was like, "Okay, yeah, that was great, yeah," and I'm drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And he's fine. So it was a great time, and it was really nice to kind of be in the midst of it at that time. I very rarely kind of talk about him or mention him. I think it's just so much of what's happened since he passed away has really tainted kind of.
But that happens to many prophets, doesn't it? It happens to, anyone like that. Anyone who's a light that shines so brightly, there'll always be the wrong people who will latch onto it.
Yeah.
That's happened to Christianity.
Yeah. I don't want to be one of those guys who claim to be his Uchideshi. It's like, come on. Or,
Who was his Uchi Desu? Has he got anyone who was actually? No, he hasn't, has he? That's the thing.
Ishimine Sensei probably was the closest because he used to train with him very, very regularly because they used to work together. And so they used to train at lunchtimes and stuff. You know, I don't normally name names, but I will name names like Yokota.
Yes.
Yokota, when I saw Yokota once in Japan, and that was after he passed away. Like the San Jose Dojo in California joined, I don't know, joined the JKS. So they weren't part of the JKA. So he wasn't part of the JKA. So he joined the JKS. And I think it was after I left Japan. So he probably joined the JKS 2003, 2004, maybe something like that. I'm not too sure. Not too sure exactly. But certainly I never saw him training in the Tombo Dojo. Never saw him in Japan, except once in 2007 after Asai Sensei passed away. We had a big congress, and everybody was invited, and everyone was on the dojo floor, from all the Honbo Dojo instructors, all the Kenshusei, Norman Robinson, who was 7th dan, maybe even 8th dan at the time, right the way down, Jan Spatzek, Jürgen Sokra, all the seniors from all over the world of the JKS were there on the floor dojo, training with Kagawa Sensei. And Yokota was at the back, kind of stretching a little bit, and like didn't really join in, didn't train. I was like, it was a bit strange, but okay, you know, whatever. And then I met him, I spoke to him. He was a very nice guy, very pleasant, and we exchanged details. And then the next thing I heard from him, he was asking me, "Oh, Scott, you know the Junro kata, don't you? And you know Meikyo Nidan, right? And can you video all the Asai Sensei kata that you know, and send me them, please?" And
Really?
he did the same to Jan Spatzek.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Jan Sensei at the time, and I said, "I've just got this message from Yokota," and he's like, "Yeah, I got the same." He says, "I says, what did you say?" And Jan Sensei, who was always bomb direct, he said, "You know, I've been going to Japan for 30 years and inviting Asai Sensei to teach in Denmark every year for the last 20 years. And I've paid my money to learn those katas. So I'm very happy to teach you the kata. You pay me my salary, I'll fly over to California and I'll teach you the kata, but you have to pay me. Thank you."
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, so I don't know, I kind of fudged it or something, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, okay, I'll get back."
There'll always be chances, you know.
Yeah, but the next thing though I hear is that he's producing books about the kata, and he's teaching the books, and so that's one example of.
It's called an association. I think it's called the Asai. It's got that lightning.
Yeah, it's called Asai Shotokan Association International.
And it's got a fist with lightning. It looks like the SS. It's a very unpleasant symbol.
Yeah, I don't want to say much more. I mean, I don't want to, but my point is that I don't.
Too much already, Sensei.
Huh?
You've said too much already.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like that. That's the point. I don't want to be that person who's trying to just cut and paste a style of karate that was unique. You're just going to be a copy.
Yeah, I just think people like Asai Sensei and Kaze Sensei, they're like they're unique. You know, they're the lights that shine bright, and they're their own men, and they're kind of gone. Really. Yeah. Because you know, I mean, much as I know, Kaze Sensei was great, and Kaze Sensei was great, but I mean, the people trying to preserve it now.
Yeah.
Kind of, you can't preserve it. You've got to move it on. And you're doing this karate for a small, powerful, wonderful man, or a tiny, whippy man. You can't preserve it. You've got to take something from it and move on, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing that those two individuals should teach you, it seems like they both have the same instructor, Nakayama Sensei. If there's one thing that those two individuals should teach you, is that you find out who you are and you find out what karate means to you.
Yeah.
Uniquely you. And what people are taking from it is, I'm going to try to emulate them. Well, surely that's the very opposite of what they were trying to teach you.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know Kaze Sensei. I never trained with Kaze Sensei, but I know Asai Sensei, and that's the thing he was teaching you, was to find your karate. Here's loads of ideas. What works for you? Find it.
Do it your way.
Yeah.
And do karate that, Kaze Sensei is great for people who are small and stocky. And who are called Kaze.
Yeah.
Your own one.
Yeah. Okay, well, should we finish on that controversial?
I think that's enough, isn't it?
I hope I haven't said too much. Sorry,
No,
your
you
conversation.
know what? I mean, I'm always semi-reluctant to say stuff, but I'll stand by everything we've said.
Yeah, I'll finish on a positive note about Yokota Sensei. Like for his age, he's in amazing physical condition, and I'm sure I don't know his seminars and I don't know his organization, I don't know his students, but I do know that he's obviously dedicated a large part of his life to karate because he couldn't have he couldn't have trained so hard and be as fit and healthy as he is at his age. So fair play to him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe that's my 5-year plan to be as fit and healthy as people like him.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Sensei.
I'll see you on Saturday for your seminar on Saturday. Yes.
Excellent. See you then.
Saturday. Thank you.
Os.
Bye.